uh, what we're gonna do today is discuss or talk about net neutrality and why we cannot let it go. Because, sorry, because if it's something I really am scared of, is the idea that private businesses like ISPs are going to be able to control more than they already do. They already control a lot of shit, right? They take our money, and then we get internet service. But for a lot of people, they do pretty shifty business. They have data caps, and some areas don't have more than one ISP, a so-called monopoly, and that is already a problem in big areas, for example, in the USA. And it's basically, I mean, I shouldn't throw around words and stuff like that, but basically what the ISPs in USA has done is cut up USA and share them fairly between each other. So it's like, so they are basically letting each other have aerial monopolies. Like, for example, just like how gasoline companies can do with gas prices. They can, all right, we agree on that we don't have a higher price or lower price than this in this area, and we agree on that, yeah, you know, we don't establish new places too close to each other. That is usually bad. It's always bad, basically. I don't know a single time that would be good. I mean, because sorry, as net neutrality is the principle that internet service providers and governments regulating most of the internet must treat all data on the internet same and not discriminate or change or charge differently by user, content, website, platform, and application, type of attached equipment, or method of communication. This basically means that everyone should be able to go on the internet and make a blog, and everyone can go to that blog at the same speed. Like, so if an ISP doesn't like your blog, he can't do shit about it because it would be illegal. Hey, Dorian. And for net neutrality is required by law in the EU. But that wasn't always the case either. I mean, that could have gone straight down the trash as well, because it's just how it works, you know. They lobby for their sake. There is a lot of money involved. There is also, I mean, they maybe not even bribing with actual money or bribing certain persons. They might be bribing states with added and so-called free infrastructure if the state let that ISP control the area, or that other ISPs get together and talk out, just like in USA, how they just chop up USA and then have monopolies all over the place. And I don't know why this is a thing that needs to be debated, really, because the other side than the ones that want net neutrality thinks that people are good. I mean, they think that businesses will regulate themselves, and therefore the government don't need to regulate the internet. And that is some of the most naive shit I ever heard. Has that ever worked? I don't know if it has ever worked. Um, but basically, I don't think that unregulated markets are able to control themselves. They are gonna spiral out of control and fuck over both themselves maybe and the customers and the country and the people. It just it is horrible to see that shit. Um, and if net neutrality disappears, if the FCC gets what they want in the USA, it would be possible for the ISPs to throttle. So let's talk about the big guys like Amazon and Netflix. They have both a streaming server, right? Now, they of course, if net neutrality wasn't a thing, they of course want to guarantee that the ISP that has a monopoly in an area would make sure that their website, gets full speed. But you see, knowing how people work and knowing how business seems to work usually, I kind of feel like maybe Amazon or Netflix decides that, well, we are gonna give you this much money, and the other company, they can't pay that amount of money, so we would like you to throttle the other guy and just, don't talk about it. Just throttle him or that company so that people in a certain area can't use the service, right? That is, I am pretty fucking sure that will happen. I mean, yeah, sure, it is a dark view of the world, but that is basically also how a lot of the capitalist system works. So let's say that cows, please. What would happen if one company buys up all ISPs? And that would mean that they basically have a private business that has a monopoly over all American internet. And I'm not so sure that that is an internet future that we want. That is really scary. So when people say that this vote is important, it is really important, especially for people like me and many other of your favorite content creators. They might actually suffer a lot if the ISPs can control more than they already do. Like, let's say that some ISP just don't like someone at an ISP doesn't like a content creator. Wouldn't it be perfectly possible for them to just throttle his or her internet? Just to make sure that she can't fucking really use it? Or can't access websites that she uses to put up her content? I mean, there's nothing... I don't think that I can even think out all the ways this can go horribly wrong. I mean, yeah, sure, that is a nihilistic viewpoint of the world. But as I said, I don't trust businesses. They do shit like this all the time. And I mean, we do care about the freedom of speech. And since freedom of speech is usually in whatever constitution of the nation or the basic laws or foundation of the nation, it is usually only protecting you against government censorship, right? So if a private company all of a sudden has control over the infrastructure that your tax money paid for, I don't think freedom of speech would could apply to that either. I'm kind of unsure of that. I should probably call up a lawyer of that someday. But if a private business owns the internet in USA, obviously they're not owning the internet in Europe, but if they own the internet in the USA, wouldn't that make it possible for them to actively censor stuff they don't want? And that wouldn't or couldn't be protected by free speech, maybe because it is a private company and not the actual government. Just like when Twitter throws out people, that is all fine. They don't have to abide to the law of free speech because it is a private platform, so they don't have to care. But how do you make sure that the internet really is open for everyone if private businesses owns it? And I mean, we can go even further than that, because if you've seen how a lot of countries and nations, when they do privatizations of stuff, and what is it there to say that they do not privatize internet? Like they sell it out. I mean, I think that's perfectly possible. In Sweden we have privatized railway. It works like shit. It's the worst shit ever. Oh no, 2 centimeters of snow, it can't fucking run because they bought cheap gear. And I mean, I don't necessarily say that all private businesses or people that own private businesses necessarily are out to be evil just for the sake of it, right? So I don't think they have this doomsday agenda, you know? All right, so we own the internet now. Let's ruin the world. Now, but they want money because money feeds them. It's the thing that makes the business go around. So it's perfectly sensible for them to try to control it. I know this is unscripted and a little bit of a weird video or stream, but and the one thing they promised, I think it was Verizon. I think. Let's see if I can find it here. Their idea, when they tried to remove net neutrality last time, or when they talked about what they would do if they could remove net neutrality, was basically that they want to have a fast lane and a slow lane. So they're not even trying to hide the thing. They just cover it up with other names. Like instead of throttling the fuck out of certain people, they put them in the slow lane. I mean, it always works like that. They always rename it and make it sound more good for people buying the products. And I mean, do we really want private businesses to be able to have a fast and a slow lane, and they decide what is used for what? And I mean, now we're not even talking about the instances of shit like this already happening, because I am pretty fucking sure it does, And if I remember correctly, in one of John Oliver's videos about net neutrality, he could actually prove it. So, yeah, of course it happens. It's not legal, but I'm pretty sure they already do that. And I mean, this would be private businesses with millions of dollars able to basically DDoS everything they want. And I mean, that is for loser hackers on the internet to do. So, all in all, net neutrality is exactly what it sounds like. It is a regulation to make sure that private businesses can't freely control internet. They can't discriminate anyone. Yeah, I can see Verizon trying to DOS me right now. It's fuck. And I mean, if net neutrality is gone, I don't know how that would be, like how that would work in balance with Europe. Like, let's say that the ISPs that has certain services, like some servers are on a certain ISP. Let's say Twitch. Let's say Twitch, because that is the platform we are on, and I haven't actually seen them tweet about it yet. But let's say that some private business thinks, nah, Twitch, we don't like them. We don't like how much data they are sending out, so we try to just put them in the slow lane instead. That would have drastic effects on the streamers using that particular server. All right. So just as an example, because this is fucked up. This is how internet works in Portugal. They sell it in packages. They call it SmartNet. So they basically cut up the different services that you can find online in order for make it to pay for them separately. So you get your internet on, if you want to use social media, you pay for this to get the regular speeds. And if you want to watch video, you got that package here that you can buy. If you want to do more than these, or more than one of those, you have to pay €4.99 per package. This is fucked up. This kind of reminds me of TV boxes more than anything else. It's just that they don't differentiate on genres. They differentiate on channels or networks. This is just, nah, you wanted to use social media here, so we're gonna... And the reason that Portugal can do this is because there is a loophole in Portugal law or in the EU net neutrality law that they have exploited. And that is because net neutrality in this case is not compatible with mobile internet. So they have been able to strip mobile internet of net neutrality and sell you this shit. Isn't that amazing? What a bright, wonderful future. And I mean, this is one of the first net neutrality. This is one of the first package things I have seen, and that is fucking scary. That is the fucking first they come up with. It's not even, it never even had an actual process. It just happened. Oh look, we got a loophole. We're gonna fuck you now. Yeah, Portugal is used as the horror example. And I mean, Portugal and Spain, I think, are the only two nations in EU that actually pulled this shit. Because I guess the rest of the nations are actually scared. Or I mean, the rest of the nations' ISPs are actually scared of EU. Oh shit! No, this is even. Oh, this is Spain. Look at this shit. Oh yeah, $10 for. Oh, I guess it has looked like this for a little bit of while. Fucking Napster is on there, or they just tacked it on. Um, so if you buy the Hollywood package, you get YouTube plus. Wait, is that? You get Hulu, TV.com, something called Used, Netflix, and ESPN. But if you want, and why is it even called Hollywood? I mean, it's Hulu and Netflix, but it's not. Where is like other networks? Like Fox, or I mean, fuck Fox, but Fox and what are they called? ABC and stuff like that that actually show TV shows? HBO. Why isn't HBO there? Had they clogged in there that somewhere else? All right, that was just YouTube Plus. If you want actual YouTube, you still gotta pay another $5. This is absolute fucking insanity. I mean, when I choose ISP, the only thing I have to care about is whatever fucking speed I want. We don't even have data caps here for the most part. I think I know one shit ISP that is very local to a very small town that has data caps, and that is probably because half of the town is elderly. But regular ISPs here don't have data caps on their broadbands. That is already happening in the USA. And that is fucking that doesn't even make sense, does it? No, we have a fully powered line to your house. It doesn't cost us anything more than, providing the service, but we're gonna cap you because then we can beat you up for more money. Actually, the first time I heard about data caps is actually from streaming, because there was someone that said, "I'm sorry, I can't stream anymore. I used up all my data," and I was like, "Are you streaming from a phone?" No, I'm streaming from my home computer. But you have data caps, and we already know that internet in the US is already super expensive, mainly because they have their monopolies, right? So they don't even really need help to make it more expensive. I don't know what it is with the concept of freedom that means just open up your ass for companies to fuck you. I mean, because that is not freedom. That is that is actual kind of a captivity. That is the opposite of freedom. Freedom is what most EU nations have. Internet freedom. We have net neutrality. We have several ISPs at reasonable prices, right? For the most part, I would say it's reasonable prices. But the USA ISP market is just, it's a captivity in where they just keep people, and if they want internet, force them to a certain ISP. You can't really do anything about it. So while all of this is, of course, depressing, the vote for the net neutrality in the US is, let's see, there should be a US United States. The transition to the Trump administration in January 2017 may have an impact on the future of net neutrality policies in the US. Newly appointed FCC Commissioner Ajit Varadai Pai, sorry for butchering that name, objected to the open internet order and stated that he planned to modernize FCC's policies to match the reality of the modern marketplace, which basically means we should reign free, and you are not gonna say shit about that. Give me your money. This is a very dangerous sentence right here. Match the reality of the modern marketplace. Who are you to define the modern marketplace? Stop doing that. I don't like that someone can phrase it like that and get away with it. All right, but had not yet decided whether FCC would attempt to overturn the net neutrality policies. On April 29, 2017, a clearer understanding of the latest proposal to compromise net neutrality was described. More specifically, Chairman Pai claims he wants to end the utility-style regulatory approach to the internet and re-establish the power of market forces in regulating the internet. As I said, I don't know if I ever heard of an unregulated market that doesn't spiral out of control. It always ends in fucking chaos. They are never regulating themselves. We have the loot box controversy right now within the gaming industry. Look how they regulated themselves. Oh wait, they didn't. They did not fucking regulate themselves. No. I just made a net neutrality themed meme. Nice. I mean, just look at the loot box controversy going on right now. That is basically an unregulated market that the gaming industry decided to make a move on. And so they established their ideas and developed the ideas until it spiraled the fuck out of control and is now under legislators' tables, on their tables. Capitalism. That one was a good one. Yeah, it's good. I retweet that. So basically, for the most part, I don't think that I think maybe there are certain markets that can, in a way, regulate themselves. But I wouldn't say, but I wouldn't trust it because it is a very, very dangerous way to go. It is like saying, well, let's not have any regulations on bounty hunters. And oh wait, US barely has them. And what happened there? Well, they started bounty hunting shows in which bounty hunters hunt bail people, people that can't pay their bail. It's basically hunting humans for sport on TV. And it's not even, they're not even, I don't, they are not law enforcement, right? So, but still, every market that has a chance to do the leap of faith and actually try to take more for themselves will probably, not all businesses will do that, but there will always be this one. And this one business will destroy everything. I mean, maybe the other businesses had a regulation in between themselves, you know. But there is only a need for one greedier company than the other companies to actually fuck everything. I'm looking at you, EA. And while this is right now happening in the US, we in the EU also need to make fucking sure that that the EU or that any trade agreements, any trade deals with other nations or with businesses or whatever is trying to secretly overturn net neutrality. As we have seen, there is obviously loopholes because otherwise this shit wouldn't exist. But if the people of the EU is a little bit more aware of what's happening in the US right now, that might actually, if we create an uproar on it, or our politicians create an uproar on it on EU level, might actually act preventive. I mean, net neutrality in the European Union has been challenged before, and it's going to happen again. There's always someone that's going to put forward a bill that might touch on it, but sometimes these bills are even more nefarious. They might just add a detail or remove a little bit of detail. You gotta look for that shit too, because that might open for loopholes, even more loopholes, instead of closing loopholes. Yeah, here it says the entire European Union. However, the regulations text has been criticized as offering loopholes that can undermine the regulation's effectiveness. Some EU members, such as Slovenia, Netherlands, have stronger net neutrality laws. So I mean, what we should do is look at Netherlands law or Slovenia's law and just make that EU law because it is stronger. And I mean, since we in the EU has an open business market with companies working over borders, it might even be a little bit more nefarious, because then big clusters of companies that are established in different nations can try to lobby against it. I don't know how easy it is to pay EU officials in order for them to take away a word in the net neutrality law. But I don't care how expensive it is, that possibility should be closed. Like, no, you can't add anything to this without a researched amendment that the entire EU will vote for. And I mean, that net neutrality is so important to infrastructure. Internet is an important infrastructure in the world right now, and it is worth for certain nations to also look at other nations that are trying to implement their own smaller nationwide only laws that might in any way interfere, so that you can stop that from happening. And I mean, it always sounds like an impossible fight. It's a fucking behemoth. But that is just how this world is sometimes. Sometimes you fight Nazis. Sometimes you, for random reasons, invade Vietnam. And sometimes you have to fight businesses trying to control very essential infrastructure. I mean, I could take another example from the US, because they love privatization. I mean, that is their best fucking thing. They fucking love it. They're like, oh, we don't have to pay taxes for this shit. Let's give it to someone else that can milk money out of it. All right, and then we can get the business tax from that, of course. But we don't actually own this shit anymore. Which was kind of fucking weird when I read about the military situation in Niger. A U.S. Marine was left behind, and behind enemy lines, and he was apparently alive when they forgot him there. Like, they flew in a helicopter, they didn't find him, or did a head count, so they just flew out of there. A rescue helicopter didn't head count the squad. I mean, that is pretty fucking amazing for a military operation, isn't it? Oh, but yeah, the rescue helicopter wasn't even United States Army. That was a private company. I mean, how the fuck does USA work? In what kind of fucking situations do you have private companies flying military rescue operations? I mean, imagine what they would be ready to sell out. They're part of the ISS. No, we don't own that anymore. Bill Gates bought it. Yeah, he owns it now. Yeah, his children is on his way there now. Great. And what are we gonna do with that? I don't know. We made money. Fuck you, communists. And I mean, I have actually seen both memes and actual argument of the net neutrality is a communist idea or a Marxist, cultural Marxist idea. Of course, that always happens. Or net neutrality is the NVO or whatever the fuck that conspiracy they believe in. But calling net neutrality and the protection of an open access to the world is so fucking non-communist that it doesn't even make sense. It's nice. Is that why they call it communist? Because it allows people to use the internet as they want? And some arguments have always been that if the ISP can control internet speeds and whatever, they can always put up their own. Sorry, horrible of me. They can always put up their own investigation teams, right? To hunt down child predators on the darknet or whatever. The only problem with that argument is that we already have that. It's called law enforcement. I don't want the ISPs to go into darknet and pick and choose whatever they want. How do we know that their employees isn't using it just for that fucking sake? That would be even fucking worse. I'm pretty sure since Sweden is a bit weird when it comes to internet freedom, because we have passed several surveillance laws that are almost equally as scary as the NSA surveillance laws in the USA. That is basically that if the police want to, they can force ISPs to release your name and IP and stuff like that. All the information the ISP can have about you, they have to store in case the police needs it. And I think that is a scary idea, because that is the government basically. Yes, you know what? If we find some shit on you, we can always pull it and then just go to jail, directly to jail. So I don't like those laws, but it would be even fucking worse if private companies were given like reign so that they could use that information, right? Now in Sweden, the companies have to store it for law enforcement. I think that's bad. So I don't support that necessarily. A certain amount of surveillance I do support, but not in the way it's being done right now. But the thing with Swedish laws and law enforcement and data collecting and those things is also illegal according to EU laws. Yes. The only thing that we have as a protector against this data collecting or they picking out the data is basically that we have an agency that are supposed to inspect these kind of shit. But they don't. I don't know if they do. They never say anything. You have the data inspection, but really, they are fighting. Usually, that agency is so ineffective in a way that what they do is usually look at when agencies are cross-referencing databases, which they are not allowed to do by the law. Which also makes it a little bit weird that our law enforcement can semi-do that and breaking EU laws. That is super weird. So what net neutrality is super important. Those kind of regulations are also super important because those are basically backdoors to fuck with you anyway. And if a private company can use that in any way because they own the rights to the lines, I don't know if that would be such a happy place to be in. And also private companies, what data they collect, I wouldn't trust that for shit. Like, I don't know what they collect about me. I already know that they collect a scary amount because you can already see that on ads on Facebook and stuff like that. You can talk, if you have a new TV, there are examples of people talking about something and ads showing up on websites for that thing because because some devices are listening to you. And that shit should also be illegal, by the way. Is it? I mean, it should be. That's some kind of weird surveillance. The ISPs also collect data in the US. They are also... Oh, wow. That was even worse than I thought. Holy shit. Wait, they're allowed to sell data about you? Oh, to marketing company. Fuck. Wow, that is horrible. I mean, what if what if I have a very sinister political motive, right? Or agenda. So I start a marketing company and I look up dudes on the internet and I get their docs and then buy the data that I eventually need to ruin their lives from the ISPs. It says that in the form with a really small text that is not in your native language. All right, you have name changed. I'm so used to you in Discord. I didn't think of that. And regarding free markets fucking up really bad, apparently Sweden is also looking into this right now and see what laws might already apply or whatever needs to be done. So that is a good thing. Fuck loot boxes. Ba-ba-ba. I mean, I don't like the idea of surveillance generally that is sellable. And I mean, I can understand certain surveillance from governments. Yeah, all right. Yeah, there are tools to avoid it, of course. I mean, but that is a lot to ask for people. Ask of people, right? I understand that it will probably be a standardized thing for regular average Joe to use sometime, in the near future. But right now, that is sadly kind of a lot to ask someone to read up on, I think. But hopefully education worldwide just includes a lot more of IT in, in in the lower school grades, and not just specialized educations. Uh, I don't know. I don't know if it's against Twitch rules to speak about VPN. I don't think so. I mean, I know piracy is, but I mean, I know VPNs are banned on Twitch as a useful tool, but they have I know they have a special segment in the Twitch rules for not talking about piracy. Well, we can look that up. VPN isn't mentioned. Oh, well, okay, that's all right. So basically, I mean, the best usage I have had of VPNs is obviously paid ones, or VPNs or VPNs that is a part of the software you're using, like the software has it programmed in for you. But I mean, VPN is of course not 100% safe either. But it's usually the boring thing with VPNs is usually the loss of speed. But that is usually a worse problem for the free services than the ones you pay for. All right, so opponents of net neutrality regulations, of course, has the ISPs. Ooh, there is a lot of. Many of the major hardware and telecommunications companies specifically oppose the reclassification of broadband as a common carrier under Title II. We're not exactly sure what Title II is. It didn't say it here. No. With German potato on it. I mean, you could concrete half of Germany during World War II, but you're unable to actually dig down good internet. That is impressive. All right. So of course they are always afraid of taxes. Taxes and fees up to 11 billion a year. I mean, the thing with talking taxes with Americans is weird. Because when you can't even agree on that healthcare is a human right, I don't know how to defend taxes. And I mean, the road, talking Texas and America, they have a road, what do you call it? A road maintenance agency, right? That agency went bankrupt, filed for bankruptcy because they only got a certain part of the gas tax. But the gas tax hasn't actually increased in the US for at least maybe 20 years, uh, even counting in inflation and stuff. So they just basically ran out of money. The maintenance guys. how, how can infrastructure maintenance go bankrupt? I don't understand their system. It's super weird. Yeah, but the thing is, it's not even the weird thing talking about taxes with Americans is that you pay in your own tax and hope. I mean, for the most part, you could say that your tax is paying for your own healthcare in a lot of ways. You don't even have to bring in that you're paying for someone else's healthcare. I mean, okay, in the US, healthcare is so expensive that it might actually require half a billionaire to pay your, I don't know, week in a hospital. Well, I mean, yeah, that's the unofficial statement. I mean, it was obviously for democracy and for removing weapons of mass destructions, which the US has a nuclear arsenal that is in disrepair because no one wants to pay for infrastructure in the US. National safety, yeah, it's just a big fucking sea in between. And I mean, it would be easier for them to build a rocket and try to attack you from space, since we don't do, beach assaults that often. So yeah, I mean, if they can hitch a ride with a rocket armed with a nuclear head, then they would have a better chance. And I hope the lot just blows themselves up. Yeah. No, but the weird thing that is the US is that they are so for the free market and capitalism that they give control of stuff that regular people shouldn't have control over, like basic needs. That is why they don't think it is a human right with healthcare, because first of all, they don't want to pay for it unless themselves are dying, of course, and like life is not something everyone has a right to. It is a privilege to be alive. I know a lot of people that could argue with that statement. I know some people that actually have argued with that statement and won. Which usually ends up in death, but I mean, privilege. I mean, it shouldn't be a privilege to just be alive, and it should be a privilege to take part in public things and things the public need. Like, if you tell me that the public does not really need internet. They can just choose to not use it if they think this is wrong. That is also weird because almost everything in society would require you to use internet in either a mobile form or like on a computer. So saying that they should free up the businesses to handle it as they want it, then I guess we have to roll back the services from public transportation, votings, and stuff like that, because then it's not. Pray for yada yada yada. You should start believing that maybe you get healed. Or not. Basically, I think it's easier to be healed by Satan. Because if you just trade your soul, he will do a lot of shit. You have to kiss God's ass forever, and it's still not certain that he will eventually help you in any way. You might come to heaven unless you do a fatal mistake. But Satan is just, you know what? When you die, have your soul. Deal. Your cancer is gone. Fuck off. I mean, the only thing that I am actually missing when it comes to how approachable the internet is, for example, here in Sweden, is that sometimes certain ISPs aren't allowed to use each other's lines. Welcome back, Dorian. And I mean, that makes it like some minor, communities in Sweden, inside of cities, might have a small ISP monopoly, or if the guy that owns the building decides to have its own network, it could be sort of a monopoly. But I mean, that is the only thing I feel is a bit off, because since all the lines aren't state owned, the state can't. The state has a problem to tell, for example, Telia, that it should be okay for the other guys to be here too. No, they can dig their own lines. But usually when an ISP expands its network in Sweden, the government agencies here try to work out a deal that would benefit as many as possible, as good as possible, because we don't want monopolies in that sense. We do have that with the liquor store. And that is kind of hypocritical of them, I guess, but that is for health and safety, not for making a fuckload of money out of liquor. Let's look at how neutrality. We do it like without net neutrality. Countries without net neutrality. Ooh, Mexico doesn't have. Here's a screen capture of a cell phone. I'm gonna open that outside of the stream first in case it's some kind of troll. No, it seems legit. Okay. Does someone read Mexican? Holy shit, is that dollars? $14 GB internet data cap for $1,399. What in the fuck kind of pricing is that? All right, now we come down to the actual packages that you can buy. 8 GB would be $500 there. I guess these are different mobile plans, and this is sorry. Wait, what the fuck? Sorry. Unlimited minutes to talk and unlimited SMSs to send. 5 gigs of internet. $500. Oh fuck. Jesus, I thought it was American dollars. Holy fuck, that scared the shit out of me. There are no comments on this. I guess it is in the Reddit thread. I closed it. Yeah. One of them is one of the services is that you can order 3 Uber rides for free. Mind you. Yeah, but wasn't that dollar signs? Or do they use the dollar sign for their pesos? Yeah, it is a dollar sign. Yeah, they have they have a dollar sign. Okay, so there are different symbols for the other pesos. All right. Well, okay, right. That wasn't too bad, but still, the problem here is that they basically can split up the internet and sell it as in packages, and thus make other services that is not included in your package slower. mean, sure, that can be good. No, it cannot be good. It cannot be good. Parents can restrict their own fucking childs. That is not up to private businesses to sell child data packs. That was a horrible idea by me. Well, let's see if we can find any other scary stuff. Do do do. Useless. I mean, there must be some other countries that have some really fucked up way of selling internet. Let's take. Oh well, let's check out Pakistan. Do they have? I'm gonna guess they don't have. What is it? I mean, as soon as you get rid of shit that is protective of you, what is it with countries and have data caps on broadband internet or fiber for that matter? That is just scummy. I mean, I could kind of understand it for mobile phones. Even though you usually can pay away that pretty cheaply. At least here. But if you have a physical internet outlet in your apartment that goes into your computer with cord, a data cap does not make sense at all. All right, so we are soon gonna end this. But basically, it's this: we want net neutrality if we want to keep businesses from fucking with the internet. That is the basic of this stream and video that I'm gonna edit and upload. I mean, that is just the fundamental basics. Is that you don't want private businesses controlling certain infrastructure. Actually, I usually don't want them to control any infrastructure because it always fucks it. Like I said with the railways in Sweden that are privatized, they are expensive to hell. They suck. And why? I mean, I guess there are systems to make privatization to work in a way, if it's in some way allowed to pay for itself with tax money, but that is also problematic. And And I mean that is also weird because if you can own a business, for example, uh, a private doctor's office in Sweden, you still are obliged or have to abide to the state, uh, every person's right to be able to get health care, and they have to go by the laws of maximum costs for things. And like I think the maximum cost for hospital visits within a year is, I think, $250 here, something like that. I think that is what I paid. I think that is what I have paid, or close to it, this year, something like that, for medical visits like injuries and surgeries. But as soon as it reaches that amount, every other medical expense is free, and then we have an equal system like that at the pharmacy. So you don't have to pay $10,000 for a rare medicine. You only have to pay up to a certain amount of money, and then get the rest of the medication for free that exceeds that over a certain period of time. I think it's usually a year. I'm not sure if that has changed. But that is kind of problematic when you deal with private companies, because they have to follow the same rules, so you won't notice it per se, but they can harvest a fuck ton of tax money and be profitable of tax money. And that is a kind of moral dilemma right there. But just giving away infrastructure to the free market is weird, because if we did that, nothing would be repaired. Nothing would be maintained. Nothing would work. Like a private company, if a private company was just bought like bridges somewhere, and then they're like, oh, this bridge is in really bad state. Yeah, demolish it. It just costs money. You always need a control organ. And it should be the state or the union that, or whatever controls it, has to be not exactly private owned. But I guess that makes me communist. All right. By the people, for the people. Isn't that basically the motto of the USA in its constitution? By the people, for the people. That never fucking happened. You're full of shit. Declaration of Independence, yeah. I mean, since when did that happen? I mean, they started out the nations with snake oil salesmen to fuck with other people. I think it was it's probably the Declaration. I mean, it's probably because that is the basis of how they wanted their nation. Let's just say it didn't pan out. it didn't really pan out. It's like they have had such short history of just destroying whatever they wanted from the beginning. They wanted a free land of the free, uh, by the people for the people idea, where everyone worked together, and the Americans were supposed to be a lot better than everyone else. And they started that by civil war later on. It's from a speech. All right. Right, so maybe it's not in an official document, but I mean, it's it's basically in the documents anyway, because it's just other wording. The Gettysburg Address and speech, U.S. President Abraham Lincoln, one of the best known American people. It was delivered by Lincoln during the American Civil War on the afternoon of Thursday, November 19, 1863, at the dedication of the Soldiers' National Cemetery in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, 4.5 months after the Union armies defeated those of the Confederacy at the Battle of Gettysburg. Yeah, I mean, yeah, okay. All right, it was just a president that said that. I get it. And a president, not only a president, a Republican president. I know the Republicans and the Democrats were very different back then. But it's weird to see a Republican president say, by the people, for the people, and look at them today. What the fuck happened to you? You massive weirdos. I mean, the Democrats, the Democrats got from fucking horrible to at least, acceptable, sort of, but still sucking corporate dick. And the Republicans went from Abraham Lincoln, the freedom and equality of all of all races and people that lived in the U.S., to neocons that hate people in turbans. I mean, I'm pretty sure that Lincoln wouldn't be so hateful as a neocon Republican is today. And I'm pretty sure that even sheriffs and law enforcement of those years, when Lincoln and in the beginning of history of the United States, would be fucking terrified if they saw the weaponry allowed to civilians. I mean, that country went down fast. Went south fast. It was pretty good, then the Second World War happened, and, well, here we are now. Well, basically, I think a lot of the Republicans today, and the reason they protect a lot of their gun laws and stuff like that, is because of the Cold War. Because, I mean, the Red Scare, the propaganda of the United States back then was that if you live in a communist country, you have no freedom. I mean, yeah, in Soviet maybe you didn't have freedom, but that was also Stalin. And it was Stalinism. I mean, it's not Marxism. So yeah, that propaganda apparently worked, because everyone went batshit crazy for the bald eagle and American freedom. Well, to a certain degree, as long as whites had that freedom. Wake up, USA! You are weird. Well, that is gonna be the stream for today. I appreciate the people that took time to come out here. I'm gonna try to edit this up in a nice fashion. It's gonna be a little bit difficult to make it nice, but I would try and upload it to YouTube so that I can. So whenever you wonder about net neutrality, you don't even have to trigger me. I'm already super triggered. I get triggered only when I talk about how the US works because I don't understand it. It's like I understand other democracies fine. I have a little bit difficult understanding the system from parliaments like the ones in because a lot of the parliaments in Europe differs a lot from how the Swedish parliament works. But but I never understand USA. I would never understand it ever. I don't even understand why they are allowed to freely redraw voting districts. I have even seen John Oliver's episode on that on Last Week Tonight. I still don't understand it. I just know it's used to fuck out people they don't want voting. And that is all I know about it. I don't even know how it works or understand why it is in place and why the leading or the ruling party of that city or state are actually the ones redrawing it themselves. So it's not even an outside neutral source. It is the politicians themselves that it's called gerrymandering and it's fucked up. Look it up. And with that I say goodbye. Fuck you, world.